Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. I'm Dylan. Joining me as always, Ben and Cam. It's been a minute, but we're back. It's spooky season. What better way to kick off some spooky season than with a spooky-ish movie? We're going to do Silence of the Lambs this week. It was the only horror film to ever win Best Picture. To kick things off and get everybody in the right mood, we're going to go to this week's cocktail, though. The Hello Clarice. So the Hello Clarice comes from the Cointreau website. It is a dash of Angostura bitters, a half ounce of a Chianti float, 3/4 of an ounce of Cointreau, 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice, and 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey. And, Chianti, there's the line in the movie where he talks about eating the man's liver with some fava beans and a Chianti. And so instead of just doing a Chianti outright, we decided to zhuzh it up a little with a cocktail featuring Chianti.
Or if you want to be a complete psychopath, Chianti.
Check the show notes below. Make yourself a Hello Clarice and use the Casker links to get yourself some Angostura bitters, some Cointreau, some rye whiskey, and hopefully some Chianti. Make it. Tag us on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod and let us know what you think. You can check out The Silence of the Lambs on Max or HBO Max. I feel like I'm still going to call it HBO Max until I die. They cannot make me not call it that until they send a cease and desist.
It'll always be the home box office to me.
That's the little intro. Yeah. The same one they've used since like we were kids.
Forever.
I'm surprised they've never changed that. And I know they have Hannibal on there. Do they also have Red Dragon? I did not check to see that one.
I would imagine they do. I feel like if they've got the two, they've got to have all three of them.
The Silence of the Lambs is a 1991 crime drama thriller. It currently sits at 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb, making it the number 24 top-rated movie on IMDb. And on Letterboxd, it's number 91 on their top 250. Directed by Jonathan Demme. Stars Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins. I'm trying to think of Ted Levine is in there. No one else is like really huge.
Scott Glenn. He's not huge, but
he plays Jack
lot.
Crawford.
Yeah.
I forgot why it was called Silence of the Lambs. Like I feel like that's such like a like you're like, oh, that's a nice title. Like I was like, it doesn't really play into the movie. And then I'm on this rewatch, and she's like, oh yeah, there was like lambs being slaughtered, and Anthony Hopkins says to her, "Do you think that will silence the lambs?" And I'm like, okay.
Oh, he said the thing.
He said the title.
So this film did. We already said that it's like the only horror film to win Best Picture, but it also won Best Actor in a Leading Role for Anthony Hopkins, Best Actress in a Leading Role for Jodie Foster, Best Director for Jonathan Demme, and Best Writing Screenplay Adapted on material previously produced or published for Ted Talley. So, had either of you guys seen this movie before?
It's been a minute, but yeah.
Technically, but watching it, I don't feel adequate in saying that. So, like, I don't remember enough about it to know have any informed opinion before going into it.
I had seen this a long time ago, like Ben. And I remembered most of the beats. And I've seen Red Dragon. I don't remember if I've ever seen Hannibal, but
I've watched the first 10 minutes of Hannibal, and then that was just kind of like, nah.
Isn't it not as good? I feel like I remember Red Dragon being really good, and then Silence of the Lambs being really good, and Hannibal being like, you could skip it.
So, from what I remember, it's more like spoilers for the sequel. But like Hannibal Lecter is being like hunted. So it's almost like Agent Starling is trying to catch Hannibal Lecter, but also trying to catch the person who's trying to have Hannibal Lecter killed. Like it's a whole weird thing where like they make Hannibal Lecter seem more of a protagonist, which just doesn't feel right. It's weird. He's an antagonist in the fact that you find out more about like the stuff he did as, a psychiatrist which was fucking terrifying, but I don't know. I didn't care for it. I think I watched like a little bit of it and it was like, no, not for me. But Red Dragon, that movie slaps.
It's also weird because like Julianne Moore plays Clarice in Hannibal. So like the only person who came back, it looks like, was Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, so I only know because I did a little bit of reading on this after I finished the movie. Jodie Foster wanted to come back, but she had already committed to directing another movie. So she could not break that commitment, and so when she was unable to go, that's when Julianne Moore came on. What's really weird to me about the sequels, and I know I want to get into the actual movie, but about the sequels, this movie came out in 1991. The sequel, Hannibal, came out the year after Red Dragon came out, which is a prequel. Those movies respectively came out in 2001 and 2002. That's a long ass time to wait to make a sequel and then to just spit two out back to back.
Right.
It's the sequel and the pre-sequel. They think they're Borderlands.
Well, what's really weird is that I think the book Hannibal was written like in 99, but I think Red Dragon came out before Silence of the Lambs. Like I feel like that would have already existed to be able to be made into a movie, but I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, my dad was like, "Yeah, this is one of the only books I ever read." I read it and then went and watched the movie. I was like, "It seems kind of weird," but
It is an odd choice.
Yeah. That's bold.
He's like,
But
"Yeah,
hey,
I've only read Silence of the Lambs, American Psycho. I don't know. It's
Mein
just...
Kampf.
I can't.
Look, reading this book in its isolation is like, reading this book is fine, but reading only this book is kind of sus.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know if I feel like I've said this to you guys before. When I went to school, what I wanted to do was I wanted to be a criminologist and like become an FBI agent. So like this is one of those movies for me that like hits home when I'm like, yeah, like getting the criminal's mind, like picking apart doing the dirty work, doing the legwork, all of that like just really hits home and is like, yeah, the other Dylan in the other universe where he doesn't become a film kid, he would have been this. He would have been Jodie Foster.
Hey, they got plenty of films on the FBI, man. It's not too late. Funny thing is, did not remember most about this movie. I did not realize Clarice was like a student, effectively. Like a trainee. She's like a trainee, and they're just like, yeah, why don't you go interview this cannibal on Super Lockdown for me, please? Who's very manipulative, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, everyone kind of talks about how what's his face, Jack Crawford, is kind of using her.
Yeah.
It also kind of seems in his mind, he's kind of like, oh, she's like a star pupil. Like, I remember you from this lecture I gave or whatever. But at the same time, he really just kind of throws her into the fire. And when she first goes to see Hannibal and there's like the dude jerking it and there's the nice psychopath also in that, I was like, Jesus, like she's just really in the shit right now.
Immediately. Yeah. No preparation, just
it's like her first week in the academy too.
Oh my god.
Sorry I took you off the course, but hey, you're gonna go talk to this cannibal and he's gonna help you.
Do you remember
identify
that story about the really the crazy psychiatrist who's really good at manipulating people? Yeah, we're gonna have you go talk to that guy. And just, do what you can. See if you can get his help on this. Like, oh, okay. Also, I love how she immediately breaks, like, every rule that they all tell her.
Yeah.
Don't approach the glass. Immediately walks right up to the glass. Like, don't tell him anything personal about yourself. What's your most, worst memory as a child? When my dad died? Okay, we're just gonna dive right in. All right. Bold move.
Well, yeah, and I mean that kind of helps her in kind of sense because
It
at the
does.
end he's like, I'm not gonna hunt you down. Like I think the world's brighter because you're in it.
Tee.
People are gonna think we're lovers. Tee.
God, so weird.
No, I will say, I remembered like beats of this movie. I didn't remember how terrifying Anthony Hopkins is. Like, I remember him being like, I remember, obviously, again, we're gonna spoil the shit out of this. When he does like the prison break and like he stabs he picks the lock and he handcuffs the dude and then like starts biting the other. Like, I remember the cannibal-y parts and being like, oh, this is pretty terrifying. But the parts where he's just like in the cell, I don't even know, like his eyes are like the eyes open and he's communicating, but it just seems like there's like no sense of like guilt or anything
like
behind
there's
his
nothing
eyes.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's talking about like, oh, I didn't kill him. Okay, but you knew this guy was murdered? Yeah, I didn't kill him though. All right, you feel no guilt, no nothing, and he showed it so well. His eyes are so terrifying. I don't know how to describe it, but I forgot how completely terrifying just him in the cell is.
Yeah. I mean, what's this statistic? Oh, so he's the second shortest screen time to win Best Actor. He was
Well, it's crazy
20.
he won Best Actor and not
Yeah.
Supporting Actor. That's
Yeah,
wild.
because he's only in it for 24 seconds.
Yeah. Seconds?
Or sorry, 24 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, he literally had like a minute and 20 seconds more screen time than the shortest guy.
What's the shortest?
The shortest is 23 minutes and 39 seconds, and Anthony Hopkins was 24 minutes 52 seconds.
Okay, what I meant was who, like, what is the role?
David
Niven in Separate Tables from 1958.
Okay.
Which, I mean, back then you got to remember, like that's like half of a movie.
Yeah, well, it says Hopkins is the shortest as far as like percentage of runtime. It's only 21% of the film. Like when you think about this movie, you think of Jodie Foster and like, was it Buffalo Bill? But like, honestly, what you think about is Anthony Hopkins. Like he is basically the star of the movie, even though he's not the main plot point per se.
Right.
Like it's all to solve this other murder, but like when you think of the movie, you think of like, "Hello, Clarice," and like the what is it? I ate his liver with a nice Chianti and fava beans and the like
Yeah.
like that's the shit you remember. You don't remember.
Yeah, it's weird as hell.
No, he's legitimately like it's terrifying. He's super good in it. But yeah, you think of Silence of the Lambs. You think Hannibal Lecter. That's Silence of the Lambs. Oh, the Hannibal Lecter movie? Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, granted, I think it is his book series. Like he is the main character of the book series and everything. But like, for as little as he's in the movie, he is the one you remember the most. And maybe that's part of the like horror elements of it. Because to me, as someone who I took a horror class, I love horror movies, and that was like kind of the thing that got me into like film. But when you think of it, like most of the time when you think of the monster, it's so much scarier when you don't see it. Like when it's just hidden and it's the thing in the darkness, it's so much scarier. So maybe that is like this concept like with this movie is like in the scenes where you see him, he stands out and then he's just gone and you're like, all right, so when are we going? When's he coming back? Like when are we going to get back to this crazy psychopath, like creepy dude, like maybe that's like part of the mind games that's playing like with us as the viewer. We're like, okay, but that guy's kind of crazy. I mean, the other dude's killing people and making a skin suit to become a woman, but like that guy, he's talking about like eating people and like just finding bodies that he didn't kill and being okay with it, and at the same time being a psychiatrist. And he made a dude kill himself just by whispering at him in a cell. Like,
hey,
yeah.
look, if you're a cannibal and you find
Oh,
a dead body that you didn't kill, I mean, that's kind of like your best case scenario, right?
it's free real estate.
Kind of what you hope. It's what you hope to find. It's kind of like, yeah, finding a dollar.
The movie Hannibal goes into more of like the stuff where it's like completely, you know, he talked the guy into like swallowing his tongue and killing himself. But like the stuff he does to his patients that you see in Hannibal is like nightmare inducing.
Okay.
That's where you're like, oh no, this dude is legitimately haunting. Like he did shit that's, you know, he kind of comes across as a gentleman in this, you know, until you see him eat some dude's face and everything. But you know,
Well, but
for the
that's
most
why
part,
he's a psychopath. He comes off as very
yeah,
polite until he wants to eat your face off.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's well spoken. He seems very polite and gentlemanly, and then it's just like, oh yeah, hold on, I'm gonna cut off this man's face, wear it as a mask, and then wait till I get in an ambulance and then make an escape. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
That I kind of thought about when I was like sitting down to get ready to record. Is this movie? It kind of reminds me of, if you guys remember Candyman. I don't know why. Like it's horror, but it's not like super scary. Like it's more thrillery, and just like, they're both set in like the 90s ish. And like the female lead, it's more like creepy vibes than it is like getting actually scared. And I don't know. I don't know if you guys agree with that, or if that was something that like I was just pulling out of left field and I was like,
I didn't think Candyman, but I was trying to describe this movie because I was talking about it with my wife, and I was like, have you seen it? She's like, no. I was like, okay. I said, it's a horror movie, but it doesn't feel like a horror movie. Like, it feels more like a thriller, and then there's just like, there's moments that get more intense than a typical thriller would. But yeah, I almost struggle to, I don't know. I know horror movies come in different shapes and sizes, and I guess I don't really know what makes a movie a horror movie compared to something else. But yeah, I think of this movie more like a mystery thriller that then kind of, so I don't know. Take a mystery thriller, shake it up, pour it in a glass, and then just like garnish it with a little bit of like slasher. And there you have this movie. It's like, yeah, there's like a little bit of elements of kind of the slasher horror of like, the stuff where, like I said, where Hannibal like cuts up those security guards and everything like that. But I don't know. It's hard for me to put this. It's a scary movie, but I don't think of it as like a horror movie.
It's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like scarier because it's more real in a sense. Like, like serial killers are real. I mean, don't know. I mean, well, all right. Some of the serial killers were cannibals, but like, you don't hear too much about cannibalism in today's day and age. At least it's not like I'm researching it, but like
you're not actively looking into it.
Yeah, but like serial killers are real. It's more grounded than like, I don't know, like
ghosts.
I love
witches, ghouls.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love The Thing, but like I don't think there's an extraterrestrial being taking over the world. Little do I know. I don't know, but like
you better hope not with that attitude.
Little green ghouls,
Yeah.
Green ghouls, buddy.
Goblins. But like I feel like it's just more. It's scarier because it's more grounded.
That's what I think of the first time I remember seeing like Halloween. Was like, I think it hit in terms of like scary movies. I can remember watching like Pet Sematary, Carrie, there's another one, and then like seeing Halloween and being like, oh, this one's more terrifying because like this is just a random dude escape from a mental institution and just goes on a killing spree. Like, oh, this is just a stalker that we watch stalk and kill people. Like, all right, yeah, this is pretty terrifying. Some of the ones where it's like, oh yeah, this is Freddy Krueger and he haunts your dreams. It's like, okay, I mean, can kind of step aside and funnel that out. Things like ghosts, if you don't believe in ghosts, you're kind of like, oh yeah, all right. I can kind of separate myself from this. But yeah, I find always like the scariest things are when it's like, this, you know, it's not a true story. It could be a true story if someone were insane enough.
And there were people that did stuff like this.
Yeah, well, that's like, what is it? Ed Gein, who's like the most notorious for like inspiring a bunch of different, like Texas Chainsaw, Psycho, a bunch of those where it was like he was the creepy dude who lived with his dead mom, but also like used people's skin to make lamps and shit. In fact, I think he was an inspiration for Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think he's literally the inspiration for Buffalo Bill. Because he had like a fucking lampshade made out of nipples or some shit.
So
like, it was
Nice.
fucking Hell House when they found that dude.
that's the scene I always remember like being like parodied. Is the scene where like he's dancing around.
Yeah. Don't they do that in Clerks?
Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jason Mewes does it.
Yeah.
I remember Family Guy did it. And it's just like the
Would you fuck me?
I'd
fuck me.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he steps out from the mirror and just kind of like does the old tuck.
Yeah. It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's a tough watch.
This is bad. This is high tier cringe. All right, you need to calm down, sir.
Oh god. Okay, I did not see that that cutaway. All right, so somebody on Letterboxd made a comment. It was like, there's only one moment in the film that still sends literal shivers down my otherwise unbothered spine with heart racing. That is when Hannibal's finger strokes Clarice's when handing over the case file.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was shocking. It was brilliant. That moment captured on film at once the change from standard tension to potential danger for Clarice to an actual personal promise/threat. What that promise was, I don't know. Was it a declaration of love or admiration? Was it the menacing stroking of the lamb before slaughter? Or was it another clue for her that he was about to enter the world of actual physical contact that he had been so closely secluded from? We find one of those answers in a later film, some in this one, but in that brief moment, we are given the key without knowing which door it would lead to. And then says, spoiler, I'm not going to read the spoiler.
Yeah, definitely saw that. I mean, it's through that and other actions. I mean, Hannibal's just so good at playing everybody around him into doing exactly what he wants them to do.
Well, he's like, he's like the edgy villain who gets to do whatever, when he Clarice gives him the fake promise from the senator, and then the doctor is like, no, I got you a real promise, and then they go there and he literally says, fuck, what does he say? Some shit about
Creepy shit.
Oh, do your nipples still hurt after you fed her or something?
Yeah,
when she dies,
He says some
You're
weird
just
shit.
like, what the fuck, dude? All this to come here to be like a fucking tool bag?
Well, it was to go there so that he'd be in a temporary prison so that he could escape out of that prison. I mean, he was just toying with her, which is just,
him.
cherry on top for him,
Here's my question. Did the dude honestly somehow forget his fucking pen in the cell?
That's what we're led to believe, I guess. I mean, most people don't think
Because-
about a pen, right? Like, most people, a pen's an everyday object, and you're just like, yeah, I'm here to fill this out. And it's like, if you leave a pen, do you really remember if you leave a pen somewhere? No. You only remember if you go to look for it, and you're like, ah, shit, where did I leave that pen?
Yeah, but don't you then think, shit, where did I leave that pen? This dude just goes, oh yeah, I'll take yours.
Yeah, but this guy is very arrogant,
Oh yeah, no, he's a chungus.
I think the other thing is he might have dumped the pen eventually, because literally all he had was the nib, the actual writing part of it. When he escapes. So maybe it was maybe he dumped it, and they were kind of hey, search this guy, and there's no pen on him at that point. But
Maybe.
Does he pull it out when he's in the cell? Because he's got something in his mouth. Was that him pulling that part out?
Yeah, he does something when he's sitting behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe he is. Maybe he does. Yeah, you might be right on that.
Maybe he ingested it. He was pooping it.
Oh,
You put it in
I
the
don't
one
know,
place
could
where
be.
it's hard to find stuff.
well, it's funny.
Yep.
So there's like
The
small,
old prison pocket.
there's like small things you don't really notice. I was like so dumbfounded when the cops come in and they're like, "Oh, that's Pembry. Like, talk to him. Tell him he's gonna be all right." I was like, "How do you not notice this dude doesn't fucking look like?" The
Yeah. Well,
guy?
he had his face on.
I noticed that later when he gets
He
in
had
the
his
ambulance
face
and he pulls
on,
it off.
and he was all bloody. So they my head
Which
canon
they allude to,
is that yeah.
but like you kind of forget because like you hear the dude crawling away, and then Hannibal picks up the knife and is like, "Are you ready, Officer Pembry?" And like that's just all you hear, and then it cuts to the elevator,
Yeah.
and then yeah, when you find out, they're like the body drops, and, like he's missing the face. You're just like, "Oh god, oh wait, oh no, this is bad."
Yeah, like when he gets in the ambulance and pulls it off too, and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, that's why." I just was like, "How do you guys not look at this dude? Like, I get like he's blood and like disfigured." I was like, "But if
Well, they
you look
probably
at the
didn't
guy-
want to. My headcanon is like they saw this dude, a bloody mess. They saw his name tag, and they were like, "Ah, gross."
Oh, I have a feeling.
Don't look at
especially
him.
like the young officer was immediately like, I don't even want to like look at this guy. And when he's like, get down and talk to him, like I'm surprised they even showed him looking at him. I'm surprised it wasn't like him looking away talking to him,
Yeah, which I mean,
because that's how I would have done it. Just to be like, this dude's literally just can't even look at. I mean, this is some young rookie who doesn't know what's going on, and he's he's lived a pretty easy life as an officer so far, and now has to look at a dude who's like lacerated all over the face. And they just saw another dude hanging from the bars, like gutted.
yeah, dissected like a fucking butterfly.
Yeah, which again goes to how good Anthony Hopkins is in this movie, where like you see him with the nightstick hitting the guy, and again there's just like it doesn't look like he's enjoying it. It doesn't look like he just has like this blank look of like, okay, I'm killing you. This is it. This is what we're doing. Business as usual. Let's go to the next thing. Which is weird, because you'd think, a guy who's a cannibal and likes, is a murderer would get some sort of satisfaction out of murder, but he doesn't really seem to.
I feel like the other thing that always stands out is it puts the lotion on the skin or else it gets the hose again.
Put lotion in the fucking basket!
Yeah, I'm like every time I hear the sequence, I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's really dark if you think about it for more than 5 seconds.
Well, yeah, the fact that like when they're in the morgue at the one part and they're like, or it's probably later, but then when they're like, oh, they're like he's hunting down bigger women, so then like their skin will stretch out, and he waits to kill them, so then like the skin will like come back or whatever. I forget what the exact reason was. I was just like, what the fuck?
It's gross.
He needs the skin like loose. Yeah, he needs the loose skin so he can sew it. Yeah, that was after she goes to like the girl's house and she sees the like sewing pattern in the closet matches like the cuts that are out of her back. Yeah, it was fucking creepy.
Well, like, I mean, I know Jody.
Classic Ohio border city with fucking West Virginia.
I was gonna say
makes the entire state look like a bunch of hillbillies. What's really ironic, Ted Levine, who plays Buffalo Bill, is from a border city in Ohio, on the border of Ohio and West Virginia.
He knew exactly how to play that.
So I think literally the city, I looked up because I saw where he's from, and I'm like, oh wait, I think I recognize this city. In fact, he's from Bel Air, Ohio. And literally, when you like click on or hover over Wikipedia about Bel Air, it shows the bridge, and I'm pretty sure that's the bridge Jodie Foster is driving over when it shows her like driving into Ohio.
I've been to the border of West Virginia and Ohio.
I think I've driven over that bridge.
It's pretty rough, I will say.
Oh yeah, it's sketchy as all hell.
It just makes sense to me that this guy's from there and, like, was getting away with it. Because as soon as Jodie Foster walks in and is like, oh, yeah, I'm with the FBI, he's immediately like, got any leads? Got any fingerprints? You think you guys got is there a guy you're kind of interested in? And you're like, sir, that seems kind of sus.
Do you have a description of what you're looking for?
You're asking a lot of questions for, just a common folk, What do you... Like, if I met an FBI agent looking for murder, I wouldn't be like, hey, what are all the case details? Why don't you let me in on those real quick?
It's a classic trope. The guilty people associate themselves with the investigation,
They want to feel like they're smarter. They want to feel smarter than the police. Criminal Minds shit. Behavior Analysis Unit, which is weirdly enough what Jack was.
Yeah, it's
like,
based on this.
That's his thing. He's the behavioral science whatever. I don't know. The behavior science unit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean apparently the FBI was like actively involved in helping them make the film. So like multiple of the characters were like coached by real life FBI agents.
Is that why Scott Glenn never kicked one of the writers on set?
Well,
maybe they should have gotten some of that FBI training for the cast of Criminal Minds.
Oh my god. That's a deep cut. Wow.
I was gonna say, where's Ben going with? Oh shit.
Like one of the dudes on.
Give it a second.
Oh my god.
Give it a second. He's getting there. He's cooking.
That was so disappointing when I was watching it because I had just started watching it like a couple years back for the first time, and he was just like gone. I was like, why is this guy just like gone from the show? He was kind of good. Like I liked him on the show. Then it was like, oh, he was abusive towards the cast. Like what? Or the crew.
He physically kicked one of the writers like in the chest or something.
Who was this?
He fucking Sparta kicked a dude.
What's his name?
Greg from Dharma and Greg, but then he plays Hotch.
Yeah, he's like the most like. It's funny because on the show he's the most like restrained, straight-laced guy, and then apparently he has a real bad temper in real life. And yeah, he just is written off the show because he kicked someone in the chest. And I guess.
And it wasn't like the first time he'd gotten physically abusive with like a writer or something. And then they were like, yeah, man, you're done. You're done, bro.
And he was actually a good character.
Yep.
So that was sad. I'm like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. He was, I really liked his character. And then it was just like, oh yeah, he's gone into witness protection.
That's right. And it was so unceremonious too. It was just like, yeah, he's just gone. He's just gone.
They literally just were like sitting around the table. And they're like, "Oh, where's Hotchner? Oh, someone thought they saw this serial killer, and so they put him and his son in witness protection. So that's the end of it. And like that was just it.
They do reference him in other points, but he's never shown on screen again for reasons.
Yeah, nope. for reasons.
It is funny that you like, I don't know. Shows do that all the time, and you don't really realize it until you look it up later. Like, I don't know, I'm like, oh, why did this character leave the show? And it's either like it's something usually benign or like bad. It's like, oh, they had a contract dispute, or or like you said, or they're abusive. It's like,
The one that irks me, spoiler for a show that ended I don't know how many years ago. I'm gonna talk about Bones, the show Bones. We're gonna get in depth here. The character, I think Sweets was like the psychiatrist or something.
Yeah.
They killed him off. He literally asked to leave for like a month or something.
They killed him off?
A movie. And they just killed him off.
I remember them killing him off. I didn't realize that was for that.
Yeah, he literally just wanted to go. He was like signed on to direct this movie and asked if like, hey, can I just like leave for like a month or something, direct this movie, and then come back? And they're like, yeah, okay. And then they just killed him off.
Wow,
like,
that's such a dick move.
To a dude who literally was like, "Hey, like I'll come back. I just want to do this thing." And they're just like, "Yeah, no,
No, it'd be fun if we
No.
killed you instead.
yeah."
It'll be really dramatic. Everyone's gonna be really sad about it. That
Well,
episode.
I mean, if it like delayed the show, then
but like,
But all they had to do, they wrote him off the show. They literally could have written him off several other ways and just been like, "Hey,
he's got to go
Sweets
visit
is doing-
family.
yeah, there are
something.
also
Or I think-
multiple episodes where
in the
there's where
show-
some people are
I
not
think
in
the
it.
show. Yeah, and I think in the show, his wife or girlfriend is like pregnant. They're just like, "Oh, so he had the baby. He's on paternity leave." Like that's all you had to do.
Yeah, wow, that's messed up.
It wasn't a complex thing to do. They just were like, "All right, well, you're gone now."
Yeah, that's messed up. I didn't know that. I remember I was watching the show when that happened, and I was like, what? Side point about him, I did not realize he did apparently help direct the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
the guy from Bones or the guy
Yeah,
from
the guy from Bones. Yeah, that guy.
Hey, I'm proud of him.
The guy from Waiting.
Yes, the guy from Waiting.
Ryan Reynolds.
No,
Oh.
the other guy, the guy in Waiting who's like the newbie. He's like the trainee the entire movie.
The guy that shows his nutsack.
Yeah,
Okay.
That guy.
Okay.
that guy.
I think that's all of the people in the movie, though. At some point,
The main guy who's not Ryan Reynolds or Justin Long
God, I haven't seen that movie in years. Probably a good thing.
or Andy Melanakis.
He's that
It's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
about to say. I was like, I was gonna say I didn't
My
even
show.
remember he was in that thing.
What's
Keep baloney in my left pocket. I got peas on my head, but don't call me a peahead.
This has really gone off the rails. Oh, jeez.
Got bees on my head, but don't call
I
me
didn't
a
have
peahead.
I didn't have Hannibal Lecter and Andy Milonakis on my bingo card.
Damn.
I didn't have both those guys on there. Sorry.
Anybody who did either listening to it the second time around or is a fucking psychic because there's no reason anyone should have been like, "Oh yeah, I know. They'll definitely talk about Andy Melanakis on this podcast."
There's a thing down here that Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins only share 4 scenes together in the entire movie.
I mean, each of those scenes are like, 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
So there's your 20 of your 24 minutes for Anthony Hopkins.
It says Jodie Foster avoided Anthony Hopkins during their scenes together because she was terrified of them.
Interesting.
I read a thing where they like one of the first things they filmed together is when he makes fun of like her accent. And she's like completely taken off guard. And like after the scene, he apologizes, and she's like, "No, like that was like that was perfect. Like you legitimately like freaked me out." Yeah, her reaction was her horrified reaction was genuine. To when he just straight up calls out her shitty Southern accent.
Some of this trivia is like crazy to me. It says Jodie Foster first read the novel. She tried to buy the rights herself, and only to find that Gene Hackman had already beaten her to it.
Wow.
Kind of interesting to me that like Clarice is this kind of like bright young, like not necessarily like protege, but she's like kind of the new kid on the block, but she's like bright and she's going to be something bigger. It feels like that feels like the legwork and the psychological like detective portion of it. But we see the one scene in the training where she doesn't do well with the gun. And then at the end of the movie, it almost feels like that was kind of like foreshadowing in a sense of now she's better. She's trained all of this. Like now she has the gun. Here we go. And then immediately it's like, oh, he shuts off the light. She's like panic and like stressed out. And like she kind of just like not necessarily crumples because she does get the bad guy in the end and saves herself. But
Was waiting for her to find him in the corner. Be like, "Oh shit,
She
she
checked
checked the
the
corner.
corner."
She learned."
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like she kind of like, there's just almost no growth in that sense of like her character, which I thought it like there was gonna be like she's been training, like she's ready. And I just found it interesting that they kind of like not necessarily made her weak, but Yeah.
I mean, she is a trainee, so I get it.
Yeah, I mean, she literally just caught like this big.
But it was kind of an accident.
We talk about how like iconic Anthony Hopkins was with 24 minutes of screen time in this movie. But to think of like looking at the list, this is according to Wikipedia, of other actors who were apparently considered for the role or auditioned for the role. Originally, the role was offered to Sean Connery, who turned it
that
down.
would've
Why?
been bad.
I feel like that is a constant theme. Is we watch these movies and they're like, oh, Sean Connery could have played the role, but then he didn't. And it's like, thank fuck. Like, why? Why do you want this person?
You know what? Big props to Sean Connery for not just chasing the money and taking on roles like he knows don't fit.
Thanks
Yeah,
for not
right?
ruining movies, Sean.
Exactly.
Yeah, way to go. Other actors considered, and one of these I'm skeptical of. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, the usual suspects.
Yep, classic.
Pacino, De Niro, Dustin Hoffman. I don't know who Derek Jacobi is.
Derek.
I don't recognize this guy. I'm literally trying to look. He looks mostly like a. He looks like a British, like, almost like more like a British theater.
Dude, his IMDb page
Like
picture is creepy as hell.
The black and white one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's
Uh,
he was in Gladiator, and I'm curious as to why they like went with, because Sean Connery is what, like British or Irish or something, Scottish,
Scottish.
and then this guy Derek Jacobi is British. I'm wondering why they like tried to go with British actors for Hannibal. I mean, the others weren't, like De Niro
well,
and Pacino wasn't, but
This hold on. Apparently, Forrest Whitaker says he auditioned for the role,
okay.
which I just feel like. Does it not seem like he would have been too young?
Yeah, I feel like he would have been, right?
I mean,
Maybe he's just much older than I thought.
Like he made so he was in Platoon in 1986.
Okay.
He was in Good Morning Vietnam in 87. This movie came out in 91.
He would've been 30.
I feel like he wouldn't have just like that doesn't
pretty
seem
young.
feasible to play a psychiatrist who's already been in prison for years.
yeah.
The man would have been a psychiatrist for what, 6 months?
Yeah, I mean Anthony Hopkins was in his 50s when they made this movie.
This is the other one. They say Sir Daniel Day-Lewis.
I feel like
Again,
he also
feels
would've
really
been young
early.
at that time. Yeah.
I feel like now
Uh-oh.
Daniel Day-Lewis. Oh my god. Oh,
Put him in there.
if
Put him in that cage.
if I'm casting this movie for the 2020s, give me Daniel Day-Lewis all day. He'd be fantastic. But in 1991, I mean, had he even been in anything?
I feel bad for Forrest Whitaker on his IMDb page. He's known for Last King of Scotland, amazing performance, The Butler, Black Panther, Battlefield Earth.
Oh,
I've
This
actually
man has
never seen
100
Battlefield Earth, but
He has 138 acting credits, and they were like, you know what else he's known for? Probably the worst movie on his on his filmography.
yeah, but a lot of people know it.
That's true.
what do you think? Should we do like Good Morning Vietnam? Like he was in that. He was good in that. No. Stick with Battlefield Earth. Trust me. People are gonna want to know that he was in this movie.
Maybe the people who made
and then the
Battlefield
other-
Earth paid IMDb to put that up there.
No. People
then-
love this movie. It's a cult classic, right? Stop saying
Oh.
Battlefield Earth is a cult classic. It's not.
Oh my god.
It won't catch on.
Cult classics have higher than 2.5 on IMDb. Like, what is the rating of The Room on IMDb? You know, it's probably higher than 2.5.
I think it's a 4.
Oh my god. That's too high.
3.6.
That's too high.
Yeah, that's higher than Battlefield Earth, which is a multi-million-dollar production.
So we talked about Gene Hackman buying the rights to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So he was attached to the film to play Jack Crawford.
Okay.
He, quote, found the script too violent, so he dropped off. And then Scott Glenn was cast. To prepare for the role, Scott Glenn met with John Douglas, who is the kind of the basis for like the people who developed the behavioral analysis unit
Mindhunter.
in Criminal Minds. The main character in Mindhunter is based on him. It says, and again, Wikipedia, so anyone can edit, grain of salt. It says that he gave Scott Glenn a tour of the Quantico facility and then played for him the audio tape from Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris. So I just am not going to talk too much about this, but these two guys were a pair of serial killers called the Toolbox Killers, and the tape is literally of them like committing a murder. Like there's a full audio recording. Who the fuck plays that for someone? Like there's been talk where like they would not, like they played like a couple minutes of it for a jury, and the jury had to they had to like go on a break after like 2 minutes. They played this dude the whole fucking tape. It said, according to Douglas, Scott Glenn wept as he listened to the recordings and changed his stance on the death penalty.
Wow. That's crazy. Be like, that dude single-handedly
I'm sorry. I'm a
convinced
fucking
me.
actor. I'm an actor. Do not play me some sick shit that you've got recordings of. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Hey, I guess you gotta know if you want to be really good at your job, you gotta know the source material, even though it's messed up.
Got to read the manga before you perform the anime.
Wow. That is so interesting that he's like, yeah, all right, maybe we should be killing these people. Maybe we should. I assume he means that he is now for the death penalty after hearing the tape.
Well,
Probably.
it says he changed his liberal stance on the death penalty. So I'm assuming it went from like this is bad to like maybe we should for some people.
Maybe we should kill this guy.
I don't know. I feel like at a certain point, if he was like, "Hey, I got a tape to play for you," I'd be like, "Yeah, who's the buy?" Oh, the Toolbox Murders. Never heard of that band before.
That guy. That was a subject on Mindhunter, right? I think, if I recall.
Who? John Douglas?
The Toolbox Murders.
Yeah. No, it is, isn't it?
I think it is. I thought I've seen a show where that was either influenced or directly in there. I thought it was Mindhunter.
I'm pretty sure it is Mindhunter. In the last season, I thought it was literally like...
Isn't that like the recurring theme? Like, wasn't he active during that time, I thought?
No, that's BTK.
Well, they had him too, but he was like a more long-arching thing. Oh, look at it.
These were two guys.
Man. Rest in peace to Mindhunter. We're never going to get season 3, are we? It's over.
No,
I know.
fuck.
Sucks.
So good.
That's such a good show. Man, need to go back and watch that shit. All right, next season, rewatch of Mindhunter for the podcast.
Man, God, it's so good. I can't find... I feel like there was I feel like it was... God, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm like misremembering something, because I feel like there was a show in which they had that person like in it. I don't know. Maybe not.
Also, I'm surprised. So Gene Hackman bought the rights, right? And then was like, "This is too violent." I'm surprised he didn't try to like do anything to like change that. Like he wasn't just like...
Some
Hey,
people
man.
have integrity. All right, they're like, this is good, but not for me.
I mean, yeah.
Sean
seriously.
Connery, same thing. This is good. I don't want to ruin it. This is too good. So I imagine it's somewhat something like that. Also, like, did he? So he bought the rights to it. Did he sell the rights, or did he just have like a producing credit? Like maybe he was like, I won't do this very well, but I have a monetary interest in it doing well, so
Probably a bit of
let's hand it off.
both, I would imagine.
Oh, for Gene Hackman?
Yeah.
I believe. Okay, so this was actually Silence of the Lambs was like the second movie that was made based on the book. The first one, ironically enough, was called Mindhunter.
Interesting.
What? What? Or no, Manhunter was based on a different novel by the same author. So before Silence of the Lambs, they partnered with Hackman. Hackman was set to direct and possibly star. They were going to split the $500,000 cost of the rights between Hackman and the studio. The producers had acquired the rights to the character, and basically due to the failure of Manhunter, not Mindhunter, due to the failure of Manhunter, the producer of that movie basically like gave them the rights for free. I don't know. I have a feeling that maybe they just split it, and then I'm guessing maybe he made money off of it. I don't know. They don't say anything else about it after like basically that like he found the screenplay to be too violent, which I'm sorry. You read the book and then the screenplay you were like, "No, that's too much, man. Can't do it."
Well, and part of this trivia apparently is that
Did you read the book?
He saw his own performance in a violent movie, and that's what turned him off. He was like, I don't really want to do violent roles anymore. So maybe he got it and then saw himself in the movie and was like, ugh, I don't like that. Never mind.
He watched himself playing Lex Luthor and was like, wow, I really don't like this. Maybe I shouldn't do this next picture.
Man, this is bad. Maybe I shouldn't do this acting thing.
Were you happy with how it ended, I guess? Like, are you, like, okay with the fact that, like, Hannibal gets away and it's this, like, air of mystery of what's going to happen? I mean, there's, another movie and all that, but...
Yeah, but pretend it's like 1993, and as far as you know, they're never going to make another one.
I don't know, Ben. You're the open-ended guy, Ben. Is it closed enough for you? Because they got Buffalo Bill.
I think it closes enough for me because of the fact that so I guess I go ahead and headcanon this one. He's in, I don't know where exactly he's at the end of the movie. Somewhere tropical, I guess. Some sort of island. I assume he kills and eats the other, like, the psychiatrist. But in my mind, like, I don't know, he's just kind of, after that, he's in the wind. Like, does he keep killing people? Yeah, probably. I don't know that he ever goes back. I mean, I'm sure maybe in future movies, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure he ends up back in the U.S., but not counting that movie, like, if I'm thinking, like, it's 1993, it's been a couple movies, or a couple years since I've seen the movie, how does this end? I just think maybe kind of like Andy Dufresne at Shawshank, where, like, he's just living on a beach somewhere. Just living his best life, killing people, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think
as long as he kills that smarmy doctor, I don't really care what else he does,
Yeah. I don't know. I guess in my mind, like, I think he thinks and probably knows that he would be able to go back and, probably keep getting away with stuff, and he'd be on the run, but he knows he'd be smart enough to stay ahead of the FBI, even Agent Starling, but I don't think he wants to deal with it. So I think in my mind, like, he just stays in whatever islands, kind of hopping around. Maybe if he gets the urge to kill someone here or there, maybe he does. I mean, not that that's like a good thing, but I don't know. Probably all that kind of happens.
Three of us technically had all seen this film before. Cam said he didn't remember anything, so you're gonna get a fresh rating from Cam because he's a little goob who can't remember movies. And then
okay, the thing is, I don't feel good rating it before. Like, if I had to rate it before, I'd give it something like really crappy, like a 5, because like I don't know it. Like it didn't make an impression the first time. I guess I saw it, but I don't know.
Cam was
I understand
concussed
that.
and his memories were deleted from watching this 2-hour movie.
Deleted.
Rather than watching MacGruber, Cameron thought, I know, I'll watch Silence of the Lambs.
Deleted. I had to make space for other things, you know? I had to make space for the room. So this got pushed out.
My memory was full. Had to purge.
What should I keep? This Oscar-winning movie? Nah, get rid of it. I gotta remember how to say hi, Mark, to all of my friends.
Oh, hi, Mark. You're my favorite customer.
What's the thing in SpongeBob where he's like, forget everything you know. That's not
breathing and fine dining.
Yeah, fine dining and breathing.
What's your name? Shit, where's the name? Where's the name?
Oh my god.
All right, Cam. What did you think on your first view?
Yeah. It was a really great movie. I actually really like crime movies and TV shows, and this was basically like a crime horror thriller type movie that had some, horror, like I said, horror elements in it. So I really liked it. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was really good.
Going in, I really remember enjoying this film, but it didn't leave like a big impression on me. Give it like a 7 out of 10. It was one of those movies where it's like, oh man, that was pretty good. Let me go watch, Hannibal. Now I'm going to go watch Red Dragon. And I feel like I didn't really have a good respect for the movie. Like I said earlier, no, one of the things that I wanted to do in life, going into college, I wanted to be a criminologist. I wanted to be Jodie Foster's character, So there was, now I'm like, damn, I really like that. Like, I'm like Cam, like, I like true crime. Watching this made me want another season of Mindhunter. Like, it's something about it, like a fucking serial killer is just so haunting, and like chasing him down, and you kind of want to like, you just want to know like what makes those people tick, because they're just so unlike you, but they are a human as well, like they're the most inhuman humans. And I think Anthony Hopkins really knocks it out of the park in this movie by being that person. Like Ben said, is lifeless behind his eyes. Any scene that he's in, he just takes over. Jodie Foster does an excellent job in this movie trying to not necessarily keep up, but trying to like keep her own against Hannibal in this movie. And yeah, it's really well made. Keeps you on the edge of your seat. There's things in it that like while it's considered a horror movie, it's not really horror, but it's so uncomfortable at times with like real world horrors, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna bump this up. Give it a 10 out of 10. I think this movie is really good, and I would put it up there. If I have to put it in horror, I'd put it as one of the best horror films. And if I put it in like a crime thriller category, it's top 5 for me. It's damn good.
Dylan, I feel a lot of what you're saying. I think this movie, one, I remember watching it. 2, I think the things that you tend to remember about this movie are the things that are kind of constantly referenced, right? The night vision goggles, the girl in the pit, the put the lotion in the basket, a lot of the other type of things that, hello, Clarice.
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
Yeah. The fava beans and a nice Chianti. Those types of things that like stick out, but rewatching this movie, there's a lot that I was like, I didn't remember this. I had forgotten when he gives her like tries to give her like the throwaway or throw her off, and she figures out like, no, it's an anagram. It's really, like the self-storage place where she finds the head and everything. I don't know, for some reason I'd completely forgotten that part of the movie. And then he does it again when Lecter gives the senator like the fake name, and she's like, it's iron sulfide, it's fool's gold. So it's not the real name. And it's just like, oh wait, okay. You kind of, some of the things of how good Jodie Foster is at kind of figuring out, for as good as Hannibal Lecter, the character, is at reading people, you realize that Agent Starling's also very good at being able to read him, which is a really kind of cool thing that kind of got lost rewatch or on my first watch or nostalgia, I guess, rating. But I also had it at a 7 going in. I bumped it up to a 9. Yeah, I think like you said, Dylan, it's hard to look at this movie. If you put it in the horror category, it's hard to look at this and not go, this is one of the best horror movies. Period. If you put it in crime thriller, it's hard to look at it and go, this isn't near the top of great crime thriller movies. Like, it's one of those things that somehow does both and does them both to the point where they're really well done. Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, definitely check it out. It's more than worth a watch.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod. Hit up the show notes. Get yourself some alcohol and make yourself a Hello Clarice. Check out our website, www.cocktailsandclassicspod.com. If you like spooky shit, we got plenty of spooky episodes, so go check out some of those. Check us out next time. As always, watch responsibly.